Tonight's confession is anonymous. There's absolutely no name or anything, so it's a completely anonymous one. Always very suspicious. Father Mayo and your holy quorum, that's you guys. I'm writing to beg forgiveness for an in-flight misdemeanor for which I am suffering unspeakable guilt. There'll be quite a few of these. When I was 12, I travelled as an unaccompanied minor from the UK to Australia to visit my cousins. I was naturally very excited. The first leg sped past in a haze of comics, sweets, and a movie. I had a window seat. I ignored everybody else. On the second leg, though, I was sitting next to an aged lady, middle-aged lady, and apart from the pleasantries, we barely spoke for the whole journey. She had books to read, and as I recall, papers to write. She was worried. She was stressed. Now, 24 hours in the air is enough for anyone, let alone a 12-year-old. When I'd run out of my own entertainment, I paced around the plane for hours, tried to sleep. I began to look forward inordinately to the arrival of food on trays with small bags of salt and pepper. Such extravagance. So it was that in our last 6 hours, as we made landfall over Australia's northern coast, much to my relief, breakfast was finally served. I selected the big breakfast, bacon and egg, with all the trimmings. A bit like you at Latitude.
Very much.
Rejecting any lightweight muesli muffin combos. Back in my day, 12-year-olds never chose muesli. However, as you can imagine, the food had had a long journey from Dubai, and the bacon and sausages in particular were not in peak form, both looking a rather drab shade of grey, which is almost a Procol Harum song, but not quite. About this time, my lady companion popped to the loo, and we did that usual routine of stand up, sit down, squeeze past the other person. While she was away, I set about eating my breakfast more vigorously in its small plastic tray with my small plastic knife and fork. Since I had more elbow room, I could really get into hacking at the sickly-looking chipolata. However, to my dismay, whilst I did manage to cleave the said processed meat product in two, at the same moment, in one swift action, the sausage left my tray table and, executing a perfect arc, landed in the handbag of the lady who had been sitting next to me. I have to tell you, she had an expensive leather bag full of her travel essentials. Now, somehow, my sausage had somehow found its way into its depths. I couldn't exactly fumble in her bag to retrieve it for fear of being branded a thief. Nor could I confess to her when she got back, so I stayed mum, as we used to say, and tried to distract myself for the rest of the journey, assuming that my sausage would be discovered at any minute. But no, it remained hidden. Now, as you may know, Australia has very strict quarantine laws due to the very unique wildlife that they have there. Anyone who's travelled to Australia and New Zealand know that this kind of thing goes down very badly. So you can imagine my alarm when I realised, excuse me, that the arrival hall was swarming with trained beagle sniffer dogs and immigration officers, and worse still, signs about the fines that would be imposed on anybody trying to import meat products of any kind. So basically, it boils down to this. Father Simon, I seek forgiveness for the financial loss and distress that was caused and the shock caused when this woman came to present her passport for inspection, only to find a sausage was stuck to it. These officials take this kind of thing very seriously. I hope she wasn't detained for too long or that the fine wasn't too great a burden, but she did look very worried when she was taken away. I should have said something, but I didn't. In my defence, I was only 12 and was afraid that my flying sausage story was too strange to be believed. Well, you know, what I'm not quite sure is why, anonymous confessor, I thought the easiest thing would have been to say, by the way, my sausage just flew into your handbag. But I guess when you're 12, rational thinking is not necessary. And I get why he didn't go rummaging to get it out, because it definitely would have looked as though he was trying to nick some money.
That wouldn't have looked good. That would not have looked good at all.
What do you say, Joan?
No, I think it's just... You'd be terrified if you were a 12-year-old child, 12-year-old boy, sat next to a grown-up lady who obviously wasn't particularly warm and friendly and maybe she didn't particularly like children, so the idea that a child would have stuck a sausage in her handbag wouldn't have gone down particularly well.
No.
But I'm definitely going to forgive Anonymous, just because I feel sorry for him being a 12-year-old boy, just sat there.
You've done this on purpose.
Yes.
Can you
And
say
I can't
Yeah.
believe that she would have got into any trouble, because it's just one sausage stuck to a passport.
Well,
no harm done.
Well, I'm not quite sure about that. Anyway, Bobby.
Oh, I'm lucky enough to do that trip so many times and arrive on the other side with dogs coming at you. They're really well trained to sniff out the difference between a banana and a sausage. So if you've got
well, I can do that.
yeah, but not
You don't
well.
need a dog to do that, do you? We can
No,
all
but
smell the difference
thing
between a
is
banana and a
they
sausage.
are brilliant animals, working animals. And I'm sure that I've had things in my bag and they've gone, "Are you trying to take that apple?" And I was going to eat it later, and they go, "No, come on, hand it over." So I think that, look, they know the difference between someone trying to smuggle in a thing. So I think it should have been all right. Also, I don't think you're aware when you're 12 of what happens at the other side and how careful you have to be. I don't think you're that aware. So I don't think you've really got anything to forgive. And also, you feel guilt. You feel bad. And there it is. You feel guilt. You feel ashamed. You've confessed. You are forgiven.
Madam, do you know there's a chipolata stuck to your